Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Isabelle Morton. I'm the founder of Gem Formulas and the Gemstone Therapy Institute. And this is a Q&A that we're hosting. We've been planning for this for quite some time. We tried this last month and that was just a lot of fun. We got some really good questions, both before our broadcast and during the broadcast. And so I thought, well, let's try it again. Since it worked for you all and it worked for us, it gives me an opportunity to outflow and share all this information that gets inside me, and I just love to be able to teach people about how to work with the gemstones and the crystals to make your life a little bit better. We've got this huge earth that we live upon, and she's so willing to support us in so many ways, and she gives us everything that we need to survive. We get our food and our air and our water from her, and even the fuel we put in our cars comes from the earth. Everything we have comes from the earth, including crystals and gemstones. And the reason that's important is because just like the herbs that the earth gives us helps to heal our physical body, it's those energetic malfunctions, those energetic shortcomings that we can get support for those with the mineral kingdom. So the herbs help support the physical, and the gemstones and the minerals, they help support the energetic part. And we're two halves of a whole. We have a physical aspect and our energetic aspect, and that makes up who we are. So to get started, I'd love to hear who you are. If you just put in your name and where you're from, it would be nice for me to know that there's people out there listening and watching. I know there's a few of you. Last time we had people from all over the world on our chat. So go ahead in the message box. It's an active chat box. Go right ahead and put in your first name. That's all we need, where you're from. And then of course later on or whenever you think of a question, you're certainly welcome to type that in too. I do have some questions that were submitted beforehand, so I'll be going back and forth between what gets asked in the chat and what gets like my little list of questions that I've got here. The format for tonight, I'm going to start by talking a little bit about clusters, crystal clusters, and gemstone spheres, like what I'm wearing. And then I'll focus on answering the questions. And then at the end, I've got a little treat for you. I thought I could walk you through a creative visualization where you may be able to tune in to the Earth's gemstone and crystal energies yourself. So that might be kind of fun. All right. So again, go ahead and write in the chat where you're from. I'd love to find out. Okay, so gemstones, crystals, what's the story? As you know, the earth produces raw minerals. Many of these minerals combine to form raw crystals. And many of them in the quartz family, silicon and oxygen, come together to form raw clusters like this. And these are very important for the earth, for bringing life energy to the planet. It's actually what helps keep our planet alive and thriving. Now, when the earth reveals to those who are given the mission of being the miners, the ones who are given the gift of being able to find these stones, they're actually shown where to find some of these things. And so the crystals come up to the surface for us to use. And we have the ability to, here's an agate. This is a microcrystalline type of quartz. It's agate. And this is the sphere form of crystals. Now what we have found is that if you take, here's another cluster. Isn't this gorgeous? You take just one of these points, the healing benefits for people isn't so great. If you put them in a cluster, yes, but indirectly. Because what happens is that the energy of the cluster is able to fill the whole room. One single point, you just took one point right here. If you just had one of these by themselves, what happens is the energy moves in from one end and then out the other. Okay? So the problem with that is that it's directional and it's very strong, actually. It's very strong. That's why people who hold single points, they can feel the energy of that point. So with this directional movement of energy, it's very difficult for the body to say, well, whoa, that's too much. But when you put the crystal into the sphere form, what happens is that the body, well, first of all, the energy radiates throughout your field, just all directions, because it's a sphere, goes in all directions, outward and also inward, inside your body as well. And it's even. The energy flows evenly. And when that happens, your body has the capability of saying, oh, that's too much over here, but I need a little bit more over here. And so it's able to protect itself from the energies that may be coming over here and shift them over here. This has a lot of profound implications for healing, because it means that it becomes, the gemstones that you wear become true allies in your healing process. You're able to appreciate and work with these healing energies as they're given to your body and aura. Okay, so that's just my little introduction. Oh, we didn't even talk about the clusters. So what happens when you have many points together, what happens is that the energies of the cluster, the individual points, they radiate in all directions. And what happens then is that the entire space of the room that you're in gets affected by this crystal energy, and the effect is to uplift it. The vibrations in the room become finer. If you have an extrasensory perception, you might sense that, wow, the room gets a little lighter, a little brighter. And the effect on the person in the room is an indirect sense of upliftment also. So whereas one crystal point may not be the greatest therapeutic tool, if you have it in a cluster, it can be. Placing the clusters around your home, and if you get a bigger one, you just really need one, fills up the whole room. Excuse me, maybe even your whole house, if it's depending on the size of the cluster and the size of the house. But all those who are within the room also can be uplifted. And I tell the story about, I think in the recent email, whoops, dropped my questions. The recent email that we sent out about when last time we went to the Tucson Gem Show to go crystal cluster hunting. I was a little travel worn. I have to admit, it was a little bit taxing for me. All the traveling. I'm broadcasting here from my studio in Connecticut, so going all the way to Arizona. It was a long couple of plane rides. But one of the things that I love to do first thing is to go cluster hunting. Because when I'm surrounded by thousands and thousands of clusters, I can feel that upliftment and my symptoms go away. I feel better and it lasts. It lasts for the whole rest of the trip until I tire myself up and out in another way, because I tend to be a little ambitious, over ambitious, and just being so excited to be there. But anyway, can't say enough about working with these clusters in your home. It's a really wonderful thing. Well, I don't know if my chat is working here or not, but I'd love it if you'd enter your name and where you're from. It'd be lovely to hear, and who's out there listening to me today talking about crystal clusters. So, speaking of newsletters, if you're interested in getting our newsletter, just go to our homepage. That's gemformulas.com, and there is a sign-in location there. It's GEMFORMULAS, gemformulas.com. In the next newsletter, in fact, I'm going to be sharing how I learned about these crystal clusters as a therapeutic tool. One more thing to say about them, and then I'll jump over to my list of questions. One of the ways that we found that we can use the cluster is to combine it with a necklace or a bracelet of spheres. In fact, I'm going to hop over here and use this lovely red spinel. It's sort of calling to me. Yeah, there we go. Red spinel is really nice for enhancing the rhythms in your life, whether it's an inner rhythm, the rhythm of sleep and awake, the rhythms of life energy that move through your body, the rhythm of running and walking and certain exercise, the rhythm of the heart, the rhythm of the breathing. In the gemstone and diamond therapy work that I do, I have found that rhythms are a key indicator of how well life energy is moving through a person. And there are ways to evaluate and measure and sense whether these rhythms are moving well, too fast, too slow, if they are sluggish, or if they've stopped. And if they've stopped, problems can happen. we want to keep that life-giving flow moving as well as we can through our body and being, as much as we can. So red spinels is really good for that. Just felt right for now. So what happens when you, let's try this first. This is the cluster without anything. It's just quartz. So what happens here is that the quartz energy is moving all the way throughout the room, filling the space where I'm sitting, and making me feel a little perky. But this is pure quartz that's being radiated, nothing else, just quartz. But when you put rounded stones, whether they're the rondelles, this is a rondelle, it's not a perfect sphere, you might say it's a flattened sphere. If you put anything rounded on the cluster, what happens is that the cluster begins to radiate the energies of the gemstones. So instead of the pure quartz, you've got this red spinel, and we've paired it with pink spinel and rosalite. That starts radiating throughout the room. So can you imagine the therapeutic benefit of that? What that means is that if there is a particular gemstone that you'd like to work with, or that you'd like your children to work with, or maybe you have someone in your family who maybe is very old and feeble and really can't wear necklaces, or they don't want to wear necklaces, they can still benefit from the gemstone by wrapping them on the quartz cluster. So this was a huge breakthrough for us when we learned that we could do this, that this was a property of the crystal clusters. It suddenly allowed us to be able to bring the gemstone energy to infants or children, because you don't want to give a necklace to a child if they're going to pull on it or put it in their mouth, or you just don't want to go there. But at night or in their playroom, by their bed, placing the necklace somewhere where they can't reach, it's going to fill the room and they're going to get that benefit. Yeah. Okay, so what else to say? Oh, okay, that's my presentation. Now we're going to go to the questions and answers. And again, I'm wondering if there's something up with my chat, because I don't know if it's working. So if you don't mind just entering in the chat box, just say hello, because I'm not seeing anything showing up. And I'd love to see where you're from. If you could type that in too, I think that would be really cool. Last month we had people from all over the world. It was really terrific. Okay, but I do have some questions that came in before about crystal clusters. So one of them was, do I need to clean a crystal cluster? Well, that's a really good question, because anything that you leave out in your home is going to collect dust. I mean, that's just the nature of the physical world. Everything collects dust. So yes, it would be a good idea maybe once a month or more often, if you need to, if you live in an environment where there's a little more dust than usual. Place this under your faucet, and you can get a toothbrush or a gentle brush if you've got a bigger cluster, soft brush, and just gently go over it. You can even put some mild soap on top of it. I'll use some dish soap and then put the water on it, and it gets all bubbly, of course. Then I just take a brush and clean the dust off. So yes, that's important. Otherwise, they are energetically, they are self-cleansing, the clusters. So they're going to uplift and clear your room, and they're going to keep themselves pretty clear as well. It's just the physical cleansing that they very much appreciate. If they get too much dust on them, then I think that is going to be inhibiting their ability to allow their energies to fill the room. Yeah, so, okay. Next question. How big a cluster do I need? Well, that depends on a bunch of things. So that was a really good question. This little one that I have right here is, okay, look how big those points are. And compare it with, this is a bigger cluster, but compare the size of the points. So the larger the points, the farther the energy of this cluster is going to be able to radiate. My room here is pretty small, actually. It's probably, I don't know, 10 by 10, maybe 10 by 12, I think. So if I put this in the corner of the room, it might over time fill maybe a quarter of the room, I would say. And this one, it's bigger. It also has some matrix on it. This is the matrix part, and this is the cluster part. This may actually do about the same, but the thing is, the benefit of a cluster like this with the short points is that when you place the necklace on it, it's going to be rejuvenating the necklace. That's one of the other benefits of working with a cluster. So this particular cluster would be better for clearing, well, not really clearing, but rejuvenating your gemstone necklaces. And something like this would be better for broadcasting the gemstones in the immediate area. This little one would be so wonderful on your desk. In fact, I do keep this one on my desk. I just saw it and it was love at first sight. So, and then this one I use at the end of the day. I'll put some of the necklaces that I've worn on this cluster. Now the thing is, when you wear the gemstone necklaces, they're going to work really hard for you. They really do. And at the end of the day, they're going to have collected unwanted energies from your body. And those unwanted energies are specific to the gemstones. If a gemstone helps to clear a certain type of energy to fulfill its mission, then that's the type of energy it's going to collect. So at the end of the day, I'm always using my my clearing sprays, the Gem Formulas clearing sprays, and which I thought I had a bottle here to show you, but I didn't. Okay, I was thinking of it. And then when I put the necklace on the cluster, it helps to rejuvenate it. So it's not always, and I keep this in my bedroom, or sometimes I'll keep it down here if I'm doing a session. This has enough room for maybe, well, here's a 6mm rhodonite. I can get 2 necklaces on here. So that's one, and here's another one. And it's okay if I kind of bunch them up. I have a little stack here. It's actually kind of pretty. The cluster will be working with all of the necklaces here, really moving through the different layers and uplifting all of them. And then in the morning, they just look so happy. I mean, they just feel better. They feel recharged. Yeah, you'll have to experience it to know what I mean. You'll have to experience it to believe me, because that's the bottom line. All right, so we're talking about size. So size, how big a crystal do you need to fill a room? Kind of depends on the size of the room, depends on how big and how long the crystal points are. It kind of depends on how deep the matrix is. If you've got a good matrix, it's kind of like an engine. It can help support the broadcasting of the cluster, the actual points on top. Here's the comparison again. If I wanted to fill the entire room here, I think a cluster that was maybe 4 times this size would be really nice for this particular room. I'd get a really nice sense from this. And this one, again, I would choose this more for rejuvenating my necklaces, although just its presence is also uplifting. The space that it can fill is a little smaller than this one, even though it's bigger. Look down, that's the difference. So I hope that wasn't too confusing. I think when selecting clusters, we do our best to show the ones that we have as best we can. We found that photos just don't do it. We have not been able to really capture a cluster in a photograph. So we do have a video of the clusters that we currently are offering. Again, when I go to the Tucson show, there are thousands of them, but I'm very picky. And what I look for, and I don't mind telling you, what I look for is, notice how the points are all, they're all kind of going in different directions. There's no one point that is dominating. I mean, yes, this is the biggest one, but it's got these other ones that are balancing it out. And there are clusters that are going in different directions. So there's one that's definitely pointing this way, but there's others that are pointing in other directions. In this one here, in general, actually this is true for this one too, the cluster, the points in general, if I hold it this way, they're all leaning in one direction. So when I place this cluster, I put it on top of actually sometimes I just put it on a pad of paper so it goes a little bit more upright. I could also use some sort of a cushion or bean bag. That's what I actually recommend. Because if you put these directly on your furniture, they're going to scratch the furniture. So you probably don't want to do that. Again, I'm looking for questions. I think maybe my chat's not working because I don't see any questions or anything in my chat. And yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. And I know I just got a message that there are questions, but I don't see them. I'm so sorry. Gosh. Let's see. Hang on a second. Here's my tech guy. Hello? Hello? Ryan? Oh, great. No, I can't hear him either. Ryan? Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, thanks. All right. All right. He's going to text me the messages so I can get your questions. Okay. While he is texting me the questions, I did have a question that came in. Here's one. How old was I when I bought my first crystal? Oh my goodness. Well, when I was in first grade, we lived in Argentina, and where we lived, there was a lot of construction. And my mom would take us for a walk to the park every day. And near the construction site were all these beautiful rocks and crystals. Excuse me. And I'd bring home as many as my mom would let me. Oh, sorry. Yeah, one of my favorite childhood memories. Actually, purchasing crystals wasn't until I learned what they actually did. Purchasing clusters. So that was in 2007 or 8, I think. Okay. Check messages. Will you be doing new demonstrations with the new clusters? Well, yes, we have a video that's currently on YouTube that shows all the new clusters that we have. And I've also done a video where I have shown how to use how to use the cluster and some necklaces to make a mandala to support a specific intention. So if we don't have that video live by now, I'm sure it's going to be, it'll be up maybe tomorrow. Yeah, I've done, I think, 2 or 3 new videos on crystals. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and then you'll get notice when I put the new ones up. Will I do another gem demo with a client? Yes, yes. In fact, I have filmed it from last month. Several of you asked for that, and so I did. It's a combination diamond and gemstone therapy session. So just give me a little more time to get that edited, and we'll have that up for you. Yeah, definitely. What about giving crystals a sun and moon bath? Go for it. And while you're at it, give yourself Give yourself a sun and moon bath too. Um, as much as I love the gems, and as much as people have called me a gemstone savant, as much as I just know about them, as much as I have this rapport, I'm probably my own biggest skeptic, and it took me a while to accept that there's the possibility that the gems are actually in some way alive, that that there's life force in them. Um, that took me a little while, but why not? Have fun with them, play with them. I have customers who tell me how the gemstones talk to them, and they talk to me too. Okay, which of you guys want to work with me today? Who wants to spend the day with me today? And it's very clear which ones want to join me in my day. So absolutely, go for it. Um, oh, and I just got a text. We have people today from Iowa, United Kingdom, Missouri, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Netherlands, Lexington, New York. So shout out to all of you. Thank you for joining me. I have no idea why I can't see the live chat, but we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out next time. Oh, I had a really good question that I wanted to share with you. Okay, so this comes from an individual who said that she's working with a particular healer who asked her, well, what do you have cravings for? And she said, well, I crave chocolate, but I also crave crystals. And it's not necessarily the beads, but it's the clusters themselves. And she has a lot of them around the house. But every time we get new ones, she tends to she adds another one to her collection. But she says, this does not make a lot of sense to me. The healers thought that it may be because it was that this woman was in a past life in Atlantis and used the crystals for good and for healing, not one of those who began to abuse the powers of quartz. Can you make any sense of this? And she also comments that she just had some minor oral surgery, and she's just wondering, why am I out here looking at crystals when I've just had this major medical expense? Yeah, I know, I hear you. They call to you, they call to me. They call to me, and if there's something that the earth wants you to have, because it helps you to connect with the planet, helps you to connect with the healing energies of the planet, likely those clusters are going to call to you, or the gemstones are going to call to you. This is one of my favorite lately. It's rutilated quartz. Boy, I just love this one. It calls to me. It says, come play with me, work with me. Let's do life together for a little while. And I am uplifted. I'm supported by that. And I hope that the gratitude that I have for its upliftment will be enough gift in return. So, yeah, it's possible that you are being called because you need the upliftment that the crystals are going to supply. And why are you attracted to the clusters versus the beads? It could possibly be because as the clusters fill your room, they fill your space, that's the best way for you to receive their energies. A lot of people and just about, well, all of my customers are in tune with the sphere form or the rondelle form. That's what works for them. But everyone's an individual. You gotta go with what's working for you. Okay, got another one come in here. Should any gems not be used on clusters? let's see. Any gems that are not calling to you. So if you're drawn to use a gemstone but can't, you can put it on the cluster, and that would be fine. Um, I know that we're very careful if that all of the gemstones that we offer, I have looked into, I have researched. I know that they are uplifting, and you can read about their healing qualities and how they can support you, the unique ways they can support you. Yeah, so you can be rest assured that anything that we offer through Gem Formulas can be uplifting. I first got crystals about 10 years ago, discovered Isabelle a few years ago. She's a treasure on earth. Oh, thank you. So kind. Well, I don't have any gemstones. Your therapy videos have given me much peace. Well, I'm very honored that, yeah, yeah, thank you so much. That means a lot to me, that in some indirect way, yeah, that you're being supported by that. I'm looking at the site. Which necklace would be good for someone that works on his feet all day and comes home physically exhausted? Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how we can get depleted. Yep. What I recommend is going through the site. We actually have our catalog. You can flip through the catalog. There's a digital catalog. Look for the gems that call out to you while thinking about what it is that you want to work with, what calls out to you. And one of the things you can consider, and this is a good starter necklace, is the rounded form of the quartz. We call it harmony because it consists of a frosted quartz and the clear quartz, the water clear quartz, but in sphere form. And that can bring that light that the cluster broadcasts into the room, into your body in a more concentrated way, okay, than what the cluster can do. Yeah. So that would be my first inclination, but it's got to feel right to you. So you can look up harmony. That's the name we've given to it, and see if it calls to you. Okay. Let's see. Are there any uses for single point crystals? Well, you're probably talking to the wrong person because that's not my area of expertise. I was told when I began working with the gemstones that the spheres are for people, these crystals are for the earth. And they're for the earth, for spaces. But if you happen to be in the same space that's being uplifted by the cluster, lucky you, you can benefit indirectly from that. Crystal points, because sometimes when we ship these, there might be a point that falls off. You can put it in a plant. There's actually a couple of them that I got specifically for putting in plants, and they happen to be double terminated. You'll see on the crystal video that I did, there's a couple of them where there's points coming out this way and points coming out that way. There was enough coming out the top that I felt, okay, this is all right because it's going to fill the room. And then it had the points in the bottom, and I just thought, oh man, if I were a potted plant, I would love this in my pot with me just to help uplift the plant. My husband is such a green thumb. He just loves working with plants, and I kind of had him in mind too. Okay. Did I miss one? Gosh, I hope I didn't miss one. So sorry if I did. And again, I'm not sure what happened with the chat. Should I use the clearing sprays on my crystal cluster? Oh, that's not necessary. Physically clean them in the sink to get the dust off of them, but it's not necessary because these are almost self-clearing. But that being said, I'm so glad you asked because this is really important. If you have just worn a necklace, okay, and it's picked up some unwanted energy, and if you place it on the cluster is going to broadcast not only this mother of pearl, but also the unwanted energy that's it collected. So clean your gemstone first. And for that, I suggest our Gem Formula sprays because they are so comprehensive. They'll clean not just the physical stone, but all the layers of energy, the energy fields surrounding the stone. I'm sure you've heard about the human body having layers of aura. Gemstones also, when they are in sphere form and they're working with you, you're going to find they also have layers of aura. And you can actually tell where the gems may have picked up unwanted energies. I have a video on a comprehensive gemstone cleansing where I show how you do that. You can find that somewhere on YouTube. Okay. So, let's see. So that's right. Here, the question was here. Will placing a necklace on a cluster cleanse it? Yeah, cleanse it first. Use the cluster to rejuvenate the necklace once it's there. Do I have to put gems on it? No, it can just be by itself. Single points. I think I just answered that question. And can clusters help plants? Yeah, I answered that one. So I've got all the questions that came in before. Are there any crystals you would never offer on your site because unlike other sites, they may not be therapeutic? No. And in fact, I feel that if we can't find, and I feel very strongly about this, if we can't find a necklace that's in therapeutic quality, I am not going to offer you a lower grade just to sell you something. I'm not going to do that. I won't. We high grade our necklaces. We're very careful to pull out the stones that are the good ones and put aside the ones that aren't. If a gemstone, and sometimes this happens, mines will dry up. For years, we couldn't find rhodochrosite. For years. I'm not going to sell you low-grade rhodochrosite. For years, we couldn't find opalite. Years. It was just gone. The mine dried up. And it's a very important gemstone for working with your past and the layers of yeah, well, anyway, I'm not going to come up with some other gemstone and call it opalite. I'm not going to do that. Same thing happens with poppy jasper. Poppy jasper was gone for a long time. Poppy jasper has 3 colors. It has a black, a red, and a white or gray tone. And if your poppy jasper does not have those 3 colors, it's not poppy jasper. So yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to harp. Should I place a silk cloth over crystal cluster to protect gems from getting scratched on the cluster? Oh my gosh, thank you for asking. That is so important. And maybe you've heard about the Mohs hardness scale. What that is that all gemstones and crystals have been given a number based on how hard they are. So quartz is about a 7. Any gemstone that's 7 or higher and is fine. It's not going to get hurt because these are sharp, relatively sharp. You should be careful with your hands too. If you get a big cluster, be real careful. Wear gloves if you get a real big one before moving it so you don't scratch yourself. We go to when we go by the clusters, the fellows will wrap them up for us, and then they tape the boxes. They have, this one vendor that I have has this huge quartz point and he uses it as a razor. He'll cut the tape and he cuts the boxes, and it's just a point, but it's big. So yeah, they can scratch you too. But gemstones like calcite, this is a very soft stone. Yeah, put maybe a Kleenex over it or some cloth, cotton would be great. Yeah, to put the gems. Blue-green fluorite is also very soft. Be careful with that too. But any of the quartz-based gemstones, so your amethyst, citrine, rose quartz, those are all quartz-based. We've got the agates, that's microcrystalline quartz. Yeah, all those are fine. Yeah, okay. And silk, maybe not, because silk can sometimes be a barrier. So use cotton or something like that. Any applications for clusters in a treatment setting? Oh yes, we do sessions sometimes. And this will be my last question because I really want to go through a creative visualization with you. Sometimes a cluster wants to go under the treatment table. And then maybe sometimes a gemstone's on top of it. Or if I have and I usually do have a cluster in the room somewhere, sometimes it wants to be positioned in some place relative to the client. Sometimes there are gems on top of it. Yeah, definitely, they do come up. But they're not on the client. They're near, they're in the space. They're either uplifting the space from a certain position, or they are directing gemstones to the gemstone energies to the client. So if a client is lying on her back, sometimes the cluster may go underneath the table to help support maybe something that's going on along the client's back. Okay. All right, so if there are some questions here that I didn't get to, feel free to email customer service and I can answer you personally. I'd be happy to do that. Okay. So get yourself comfortable if you aren't already. Hopefully you got nice and cozy for this. And you keep your eyes open, close them, whatever you'd like. But put your feet on the floor. Make sure you've got your feet flat on the floor. And kind of sense that energies are moving down your body, down your feet. Pretend that your feet, excuse me, pretend your feet are like roots. And they extend down into the earth, reaching down into the earth like roots and then spreading. And what a tree does, a tree grows roots not only to hold it up, but also to gain nutrients. Those roots look for nutrients. It's going to look for water and the minerals in the soil. So if you imagine your roots going into the earth, and you can know that you're accessing those nutrients. Those earth energies come up through your feet. They come up through the center of your body into yourself, and they spread wherever they need to go. And that can be very strengthening, very rejuvenating. A lot of times this happens at night, or it should happen at night when you're sleeping. So we have a good earth connection. Now I'd like you to imagine a cluster. This is a good example of one. But imagine it really big. Many, many points. In fact, it's so big that it surrounds you. In fact, you become that cluster. That cluster is no longer quartz, it's you. And all of the attributes of you, each one is a point. And it radiates into your world. Notice what that feels like. Sorry. This is real life, folks. Can't edit that out. Okay. Now, from within that cluster is a sphere. Allow that cluster to transform into a sphere. There's a big one. Now be that sphere. One single sphere that surrounds you. One single sphere that radiates the wholeness of who you are. And notice how that's a little different. See if you can describe that difference. Can you feel the difference? Can you name it? This is a good exercise to do just when you've got nothing else to do, maybe when you're sitting on the subway. I wouldn't suggest doing it when you're driving, but when you're in a relaxed state, because what it can help you do is when you're in the cluster form, it can help you to recognize the different aspects of you. It may even help you recognize the aspects of you that maybe you don't like so much, but before you can change them, you have to recognize them. Each aspect of you has its own individual point. In the wholeness of a single sphere, it's the one wholeness of you. You are the sum total of the good and the bad and the fantastic, the wonderful. And in doing so, that part of you that is the best, even the healthiest, is going to be uplifting the part of you that you want to change. So you can use the cluster, let's use this one, to identify different aspects of yourself, but then imagine the sphere to bring them all together. It's also self-healing, to be able to kind of homogenize, to recognize the whole of you. The drill hole in the sphere, really important, because in your body and being, the drill hole represents that channel, the central channel, where heaven energy comes in from above, earth energy comes up from below. Drilled spheres. That's what helps move energy. Allow that sense of wholeness to fill in all of the spaces within you that may be lacking light. Allow that spherical shape to begin moving energy. There's going to be energy coming up from below and around and down, up and around and down. That's one flow. It happens on both sides. There's many different types of flows. That's one of them for revitalizing yourself. Now expand the sphere even bigger. In fact, you can expand the sphere to encompass your home. And that can let you know what's maybe going on in your home. Scary sound in the night, you're lying in bed, you're not sure what it is. Do this exercise. Imagine the sphere around you, expand the sphere into the yard. Oh, it's just a raccoon. You just know it. You just know. It's all okay. It's just a raccoon. It's all good. Now what I'd like you to do is to make that sphere smaller, so it's just surrounding you, to a comfortable size. And then with great gratitude to the sphere, you can either continue to play with that exercise or just kind of let it go. It is you. That sphere is you. So it's not like you have to make it dissolve or anything like that. So I welcome you to sign up for our newsletter, gemformulas.com. You'll find out in the next newsletter how I learned about clusters. We also, by the way, have a cluster video that's on YouTube, and we also have a sale going on of all of our crystal clusters are on sale. I'm not sure for how long, but yeah. So I welcome you to browse our collection, take a look at the video to see what we have, see which one calls to you, and perhaps adopt one. So my name is Isabelle Morton, and I'm so grateful that you were able to join me tonight. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time. Okay, good night. Bye for now.